So we first met at the local church I was attending in Baltimore called Freedom Church. I seen this Asian girl playing this African drum. It's called the djembe, and I was like, "Who is this?" We met there. We talked to kind of give a fast forward of what happened. She was in nursing school. I was trying to see how her schedule was, and she gave me the open day. At first, I thought she was too busy, but she gave me a chance. And went on our first date, and let her know my intentions of us being together. And from that point on, I knew she was, Asian American, but the challenges didn't really hit me, or the things we would face at that moment. I just know I really like this girl. She's a believer. She's sweet. So those things didn't really come into play probably until when we started talking to your parents, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I had any preconceived notions personally about dating a black man, but I think I definitely had expectations of my parents or my family, because I expected that my parents would be more open than they ended up being, to Brandon and to our relationship. My parents were both born here in the United States. They were both born in Oakland, California, and they grew up around very diverse people. So I always thought that whoever I brought home, they would be fine with, as long as it was somebody who trusted in Jesus and followed God. So I was actually a little bit surprised by their reaction to Brandon. So I told them about Brandon, and I think initially they didn't know how serious it was. So as time went on and they saw how serious we were and how committed we were to each other, I think it became a real concern for them, because having grown up in Oakland and having grown up around different kinds of people, they know the very real struggle in society for a black man. They know the prejudices, they know the stereotypes, they know the statistics even. And to them, it was a matter of wanting to protect their daughter, of course, but it was a matter of, we know that life is hard for black men, and you choosing to marry a black man are choosing a harder life. And they didn't want that for their daughter initially. It was a lot of back and forth, a lot of praying, a lot of conversations. But initially, that was kind of how they reacted to us.
Yeah, so my mom, my father passed away when I was much younger, but my mom's reaction to Rachel, it was positive. I think her only thing was she just wanted to make sure that it was like, does this woman love my son, like, for real? Mm-hmm. You can tell my mother thinks highly of me. She's like, what does she want? And I think Rachel's amazing. And she was just like, she treasures me. She's just like, this is my son, like, what, why you here? And but it was positive. I guess she just wanted to know, is this real? Don't play games. So that was, just the regular normal parent's response, just in her side, protecting her son.
Mm-hmm. So I think the hardest thing for me was being the mediator between two people whose sides I could see both of. Mm-hmm. I could see where my parents were coming from. I could see their fears. I could see how they would be hesitant and afraid of this unknown situation moving forward. So it was a challenge for me to advocate for my parents to Brandon and to advocate for Brandon to my parents. So I was constantly playing that role of mediator, which was very difficult for me because I felt like neither side really understood the other, and I desperately wanted them to.
So it's interesting because I didn't think that we would have to learn so much. Maybe I was naive in thinking, there wasn't much to really learn, but there's a lot, to learn from even little things of like learn about Lycée and like, just the culture, it's just like, it's like, oh, cool. Like I never knew about those things. And Rachel's tendencies because of her being Asian American. It's like, oh, you do that because of your culture, So it's a lot to learn.
I feel like maybe people could even swing to the other end and think that in an interracial marriage, all you talk about is your race or all you talk about is your culture, and you spend all day like discussing this or like working through challenges, like cultural challenges.
Yeah.
And I guess I would also say that is also not true. Like while it is harder, I think, because of challenges that come about from just misunderstandings or not understanding where the other person comes from, it's also doesn't make up the entirety of our marriage.
Yeah.
Like we go through marriage struggles just like any other married couple. And race is also not something that we tiptoe around.
Yeah.
Like I'm not afraid to offend Brandon because he's black. He's not afraid to offend me because I'm Asian. Like these are perhaps things that are a luxury because we're married to each other.
Yeah.
And we love each other deeply. And, we know that we're not out to harm or offend or to hurt each other. So there's a certain amount of like fun that can be had because we can joke around with each other, and sometimes it's poking fun of each other's culture, and that might not be PC, but I mean, it happens.
It's reality.
It happens, right? Like I'm not black, but I still sometimes make fun of whatever for, because Brandon's black, and he'll make fun of me, and like that's just the reality. Like we will joke and have fun just like any other married couple, and us being of different races is just something else that can be added to that.
Yeah.
On a scale from 1 to 5, 6.
It's gotten better. And I don't mind because at first I felt it. I was just like, man, I'm the only black guy here. But is when you get to know the family and you talk to them and, you understand each other. And it's like, I don't even think about that anymore. I don't think like I'm the only black guy here anymore. When I first met them, yeah, but it's just like, oh, that's Auntie Laura, that's Uncle Evan. Like, it's just it's just family.
Yeah. So I think, maybe the first couple of times I was around Brandon's family, I had to learn how to be more assertive in terms of like just, making my voice heard and just, interjecting when I want to say something. But now, like what Brandon was saying, now it's not even something I think about. Like now they're just family. That's Aunt Jackie and cousin Shayla, and these are just they're my family now too. And I don't feel out of place. I'm not constantly aware of being the only Asian person or even the only non-black person there. Like I'm not as acutely aware of that. So I think that's a blessing.
Yeah.
I think that's a blessing because not all families, I don't think, would be as inviting or welcoming. Like you would hope that immediate family would be siblings and parents, but to be welcomed by aunts and uncles and cousins and grandparents and extended family is really a blessing.
Me. Yeah, I am definitely more aware of the stares of the looks, you know. And it isn't like, I feel like people are more, I don't know what to use the word, not evolved or progressed, but they're not as obvious. Like I feel like years ago it would have been just like, you know, like what is that, you know, but it's just when I go places, I am aware of the effect of when Rachel's with me, I'm less likely to be looked upon as someone who's going to steal something or like, you know, like, because when I go into places, when I go in, I just feel the eyes and I'm just like, and I'm very intentional of just like getting my things quickly and then leaving out because I know they're already thinking like, what's he doing? Because of stereotypes and all that stuff. And it's like, I'm not stealing, man. And I know with Rachel being with me, it helps. Unfortunately, it's like when they see her, I'm sure they're like, oh, he may not be that bad. You know, he's with her, you know? So, yeah, it is what it is.
Well, I'm obviously very worried for his safety. That is definitely something that I think about. And like what Brandon was saying earlier about how he's perceived differently when I'm there, I almost wish I could always be with him. Because I know and I'm fearful of how other people looking at him will perceive him. They don't know that he follows Jesus. They don't know that he served in the U.S. Air Force.
Yeah.
They don't know that he's a good man. There's just fear. And I'm very aware of that. And even when we are together, there was a time in our local town that Brandon got out to pump gas. And the town we live in California is predominantly white. And he got out to pump gas, and I think we were both acutely aware that he is a black man pumping gas in a predominantly white city. And I was looking around to make sure that people weren't looking at him funny, and he had his head down because he didn't want people to think he was looking at them funny. And it's just something...
And not necessarily down, but just like not... I'm very aware of my surroundings, but I feel like I look around a lot. But I was just like, nope, gas. This is what I'm doing right now. I'm going to get in my car. And it's funny because while we're looking around, it wasn't like I was looking for the sake, because I was scared. We were looking for other people's fear.
Yeah.
Right?
I wanted to make sure that other people weren't getting potentially scared. Although that's ridiculous because you were minding your own business, but that's the stuff that I'm aware of. Like, is somebody going to do something stupid because they see my husband, who is a black man? So I'm very aware of that. And I think, especially, just depending on the area we're in or the city or the people who are around us.
There's some truth that it is like everyone else's marriage, but there are people who are not in interracial marriages. There are some things that we're going to have to face that they're just not. Is just reality. Like all the things we talked about. This is something we think about, and people can play ignorant, people can say, don't play the victim, don't, it's like You can't change what we feel and what we've experienced. Like no matter what you may say or you try to deny that this is our like you don't have to go through, you don't have to go through if you're yeah. So some things I would definitely teach my son is to not let your this is with the police. I'm just gonna go over this with police. Not let your pride, your arrogance, or you wanting to defend yourself get in the way of coming home, because a police officer you feel like disrespected you or did something that that wasn't his job. It's like that's something we can take care of after, but I just want you to come home and we can handle all that. I would teach him about that. I would teach him about not being scared to record because that's your right. And some things we're gonna have to trust God with is that we cannot protect our son or daughter from everything because we're not going to be around them 24/7 when they're older. I would definitely teach them about those things. I would teach them to be aware of their surroundings, not just for their own safety, but knowing that if you're in a place that the people don't look like you or you don't look like the people, just being aware of that. And reality, all this is coming down to safety and protection, right? Because why am I telling them this? So he or she can be okay, so they can come home. And with all that said, be proud. Be proud to be your ethnicity. To be proud to be mixed. Be proud of who you are. Be aware. And have an understanding. Mm-hmm. But nothing's wrong with you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you're fine. Good. You're beautiful. You're made in God's image, and be proud of that. Mm-hmm. And so don't walk around with your head down. Just be proud and just be aware of those things. Mm. Jonah Pride.